Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for connecting with me. I am Dr. Tonya McKoy. I want to thank you for joining me right now. Thank you so much for connecting with me. If you know anyone that needs to hear about grief and loss and my book, Coping with Transitions, make sure you uh, get them, send out a message to them, and have them connect with this my story on tonight. So thankful for you taking the time to join me on this Facebook Live on today. And I'm here to tell my faith story behind the book. But before I do all of that, let me say just once again, thank you for connecting with me. I know everyone has a busy schedule, and I know just taking time out to connect, it really means a lot to me for tonight. And again, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, what I want to do right now and is to really just start to introduce myself. Now, let me just say this. This is my first time doing Facebook Live solo. I've done it before where I've had a guest or I've been a guest. So I am, um, taking my time in sharing the information as well as looking at the different things that I need to manage. So just ask for a little patience with me on tonight. But let's go ahead and get started because I don't plan to be before you long. I don't plan to be for you long. So I want to start off with introducing myself because many of you that may be listening, some of you are friends, maybe family, and I know you from different cohorts from school and different communities. But I just wanted to take the time, first of all, to introduce myself. So again, I am Dr. Tonya McKoy. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm also a nationally registered health service psychologist. And I am approaching my 20th year in the mental health field. Yes, my 20th year. Oh my goodness. But let me just share this. I haven't always been a psychologist, even in these 20 years. Basically, I started out as a licensed professional counselor and I had my own private practice business. So, as a licensed professional counselor, I'm licensed. I was licensed as a master's level clinician, but I felt led, and actually, that's part of my faith story as well. I felt led to go back to school to further my education and my training. Yes. And that's exactly what I did. I also became certified as a national counselor. And in my former life, I was an engineer. Of course, we say once an engineer, always an engineer. And people always ask me, well, how did you go from engineering to being a psychologist? And I tell them that, I've always been about helping people solve problems. I just went from using equipment, right? To helping people use their own minds to do that. So that's just a little bit about myself. Again, just want to give you a background about who I am. And I really want to talk about that even in all of these roles, I have been coaching people through grief and loss. Yes. It's really amazing that even as diverse as these roles were, I still provided tools to help people in times of transitions. I remember even so much so that during my undergrad years, I was given the nickname of grandma. Yeah. And it wasn't because I looked old. No, 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 no. It was because I was a resource because I asked. I was a resource. People felt comfortable talking to me. And even when I didn't know the answer to something, I was committed to finding the answer out for them. And so that's why they call me grandma during undergrad year. And so now, when I think about what I'm doing now, well, I still continue to provide therapy to people who typically have a healthcare plan or some type of managed care program. But my passion and one of my strengths has been and continues to be assisting people with grief and loss. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how the book came to be. So, I have a copy of my book here, and I want to show it to you because I think it's important. So, my book, Coping with Transitions 10 Things to Help When Grieving the Loss of a Child, is very compact. I think it's an easy read. It's easy to give as a gift to people. Easy read. So, how this book came about? Well, I want to say that my interest in grief, it didn't begin with the death of my son. Now, I know for a lot of people, that's typically how it happens. They've experienced some type of significant loss, but for me, it did not. It really started when I was pursuing my master's degree at Vanderbilt University. And while I was there was this grief and loss course that I had signed up to take. And I didn't know what the course was going to be about, but it intrigued me. So, as the professor continued to talk about it and to explain the different processes of grief and what it looks like, it began to really intrigue me. And one of the things that really stood out was there was a panel discussion. And in that panel, there were a lot of agencies and organizations who really focused on providing support for individuals when they were experiencing death. Now, experiencing grief. I was combining the word grief and death there and came up with a new word, but basically, they were providing resources for people who were experiencing grief, and for the most part, it related to a death. And there was one group in particular, Compassionate Friends. Some of you may be aware of them, and some of you may not, but it is a international grief support group that's really designed to help parents um, deal with grief related to loss of a child. Now, this support group, um, they allow parents in, and it doesn't matter the age in which the child died, nor does it matter the circumstance. So this was an all encompassing, inclusive type of group. And so when I attended the meeting, they it was in December actually. It was December one year, and they were having this annual balloon release. And this was an event that they invited parents, grandparents, siblings in the community to come together as parents and grandparents really reflected upon the memory of those who have had, loved ones to die. And I was very touched by that experience. I was very moved. It was very inspiring. And even though I didn't have that experience at that time, I just felt this closeness and this connection with this group. And it was just really stuck with me. It remained with me for many, many, many years. And really didn't understand that I definitely would need that information later in my life. You know, death is very challenging experience itself, and no one really talks about it. Not many people really talk about grief and loss. And I actually have a question for you right now as well. I have a poll question where I am going to ask you, when you think about it, what makes talking about grief and loss very difficult? What makes talking about grief and loss very difficult? Some people may say it's because people don't know what to say, especially if they haven't experienced that type of loss. Some people may say that people avoid it because it can become too emotional for the person who's actually grieving. And then some may say people just don't know what to do or what to say. And I think that's true. I think that's all those questions are true. All those questions are true. And so when we think about it, right? When we think about it, grief occurs when we least expect it. And we know right now across the world, people are experiencing unprecedented rates of death due to the pandemic. friends, family members, co-workers, teachers, coaches, principals, pastors. Many people are dealing with loss at this time. Now, the death of a child has been identified as the most traumatic death that anyone can experience, mostly because it deals with a loss that is out of the natural order of life. We are kind of socialized to thinking and believing that the order of life is that parents, well, actually, children will outlive their parents. And that's not 100% true. And actually, that's my story. That's my story. For me, this occurred in May 2018. I got that call, and that was a call that no one wants to ever receive, right? To be notified not only that my son had been shot, but that he actually um, was deceased because of gun violence. And as I sit back and reflect on this after 3 years, at that moment, I think my world shifted. I didn't realize it had shifted because it felt like I was snorkeling. I know a couple of times I've been snorkeling, and underwater, it feels like everything's in slow motion, right? Like things are happening. You're seeing the fish swimming and everything, but it seems like you're not an active participant in it. You're just watching it. And it sometimes seems unreal. That's how that process was for me. And that went on for some time. And the most notable thing that I learned about grieving the death of my son is that I did not give myself enough time to grieve. Well, not just enough time, I didn't give myself time to grieve. My son was killed in May 2018. By the end of June, I was headed off to my predoctoral psychology internship program where I had to relocate away from family, friends, and my community. But I had to keep going, right? I had to keep going because I needed to be successful in the program, because I needed to graduate, and I needed to continue on the path to becoming a psychologist. As I told you before, how I've worked with other people as a grief coach, as a licensed psychologist, and as a licensed professional counselor, that I wanted to share that my services, are not limited to any group. However, I realized that as a woman of color in a high performing, high capacity position, that there were certain things that were unique to my experience. And adding loss to it, that is what made it even more difficult to grieve. And, and really, that really was the foundation for me writing this book. Well, I read a lot of books about grief and the grieving process, and I recognized that while the grief journey may have some similarities in it, everyone's journey is unique. And for me, there were just a lot of practical and basic things that I was missing. Like, for instance, there were some people who contacted me to give me their condolences about the death of my son. And these were people that I had a relationship with some time before, but it had been years. And they began to ask me all types of questions, all types of details about what happened. And I felt like, you don't know me and you're not been in my life long enough to ask me those questions. So being able to know how to respond in that situation was important to me. I didn't know how to respond, but through my journey, I learned how to respond. And what I wanted to do is put it in the book. So I do address that in the book. How to respond to people that are asking too many details about the death of your child and that you don't want to discuss, or that they do not have access to that type of information. So I wrote this book. I wrote this book really to help bereaved parents, grandparents, family, and friends cope with grief and loss. This book also is designed to help not only the bereaved parents and grandparents, but also any friends, family members, co-workers as well, especially when you're trying to understand how can I help them better? How can I help them better? And so I wrote this book to help others because helping others is also about continuing the legacy of my son. And I'm excited to offer this today. As today is the official launch of my book, I'm so excited. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited that I'm able to offer it at a special price beginning today. Let's go to my website, drtonyamckoy.com, and you can get that special pricing, but it does end Thursday. It does end Thursday. Now, I recognize that this is really a great time for this book. It's a great time for this book on many reasons. Two of them being that one, America and the world at large is experiencing grief on many fronts, especially due to the pandemic. And we are approaching the holiday season. Now, when we think about the holiday season, that's typically times for families, right? Times for families. And one of the things about that, though, is that people look forward to the holidays, right? Holidays are about family. And if you could think about, you know, um, your favorite holiday, we just left Halloween, and some of you, your favorite holiday may be Halloween, some may be Christmas or whatever, but or New Year's. But people enjoy the holidays, and holidays have been synonymous with family. But for persons that are grieving the loss of a child, the holidays are one of the most difficult times there is, one of the most difficult times. And so, and a lot of times we don't think about that because we are focused, on spending time with families, especially loved ones we haven't seen for some time, especially now since we've been physically distancing ourselves from each other for some time. The holidays have even a special and a stronger pull for family. But again, these holidays can be very difficult for people that are bereaved. And so this book has come about at a critical time, I believe, because I think and I believe that not only it can help people that are grieving, it can help those that are trying to support them as well. And even if you've not experienced the loss of a child or the death of a child, this book can be a easy and great gift to someone who has, especially during the holiday season. So I would encourage you to even purchase this book for your friends, your relatives, or even your coworkers as a gift for this holiday season to kind of help them. But then also for yourself, it can help you know how to support them better. Now, I know I've spent most of my time talking about loss as it relates to death, but we know that there are a lot of losses in life. A lot of times they're not spoken, but we do have there are a lot of losses in life. You know, sometimes when we're thinking about losses, right, we think about that um, loss of unmet expectations. Sometimes people are grieving that. What about health status or change in health status? What about relationships, terminations, divorce, breakups, financial status? With a lot of things going on, even with the pandemic, people have lost jobs. People hours have been reduced. And then what about career job related issues, just to name a few, that there are a lot of losses in life that people are dealing with. And because of that, I wanted to share something with you before I go. And I said I wasn't going to be before you long. I'm about ready to wrap up. But I wanted to share something with you in response to all other losses that people may be experiencing. So in January 2022, I'm excited also and ecstatic to announce that I will be working with people who need help coping, specifically with grief and loss. And how I'm going to do that? How will I do that? Well, in January, I will be offering my individual coaching package. And I'm going to be offering that to 36 people throughout the year. Yes, 36 people throughout the year, which is 9 people quarterly. And I am having open enrollment coming up this Black Friday. That's right. You'll be able to enroll this Black Friday. So you want to make sure you stay connected with me through Facebook, Instagram, and also stay connected because next Tuesday, yes, next Tuesday at the same time, I'm going to be coming live again. Yes, I'll be coming live again. But this time I'm going to be discussing more about grief and loss, and I also discuss a little bit more about how I can help people cope with losses in their life. So again, you want to make sure you follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Dr. Tonya McKoy. And also, if you are interested in learning more about my individual coaching package, go ahead and DM me. DM me if you're interested in learning more about my coaching package. So I promised I wasn't going to be before you long, and we're approaching the end. And let me just say this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. I hope some of the information I share with you has been helpful. Please, before I leave, don't forget to go to drtonyamckoy.com. Go to drtonyamckoy.com and get your book or get the book for a friend. Coping with Transitions, 10 Things to Help Cope When Grieving the Loss of a Child. Don't forget to do that. And so again, I want to thank you for connecting. I am Dr. Tonya McKoy. I'm a licensed psychologist. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I am a grief coach. I am someone who talks about grief and helps others to transition from grief and to move forward with grief. So thanks again. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.